Development and Planning Committee meeting started. Let the record reflect it's 3:30 and all committee members are present. Let's see, we have the minutes of the September 10th meeting. President.
Yep.
Vice Chair.
Yep. I would move the meeting minutes from September 10th as presented.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time, we are to public comment on agenda items. You will have up to 3 minutes to speak on the agenda items. We'll start with virtually. Is anybody signed up virtually yet? Okay, and anybody here from the public would like to speak, you will please state your name for the record and you will have up to 3 minutes.
First, go for it. I'll go first then. Loretta Stanaway, Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries, Cemetery Courtesy Office. And I'm here to talk about the potential easement for Evergreen Cemetery. As it's been presented to me, which I'll have to mention wasn't done until Friday. I've got no notice from the Parks Director, no notice from the council members that this was in the works. But as it was presented to me, which means that we've been told there will be no impact on our fencing or our trees, we have no objection to the proposal as it sits. However, we are concerned that knowing in other circumstances how easements work, that if we grant this easement at any point in the future, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years from now, consumers can do anything they want in that space without any consultation with us first. So I would like to see a stipulation added to the agreement that says no future alterations to landscape above or below ground can happen in the future without going through the approval process first, like they're doing now.
I guess we can try to address that now. Is that something, we have a city attorney here?
I do. Oh, my laptop is currently indisposed, so I'm trying to pull up the actual easement document.
Okay, we can come back to that. And then we'll address that before the meeting's over. Anybody else here from the public that would like to speak? I think it was Joanne, if you'd like to state your name for the record and go ahead.
Thank you, Joanne Galloway, and I'm here also to speak on the requested consumer power easement along Fenner and the Evergreen Cemetery. I wouldn't be aware of it if we weren't nearby adjoining neighbors also being asked for an easement. And I have some concerns about the language of the contract and wonder if it's standard practice for the city to give up all of that when they do a utility easement. So over, under, into perpetuity, things at consumers' convenience. It seems to me like there's a lot of language in there that could be tightened up to protect our public interest here in the city. And then as I look at Fenner specifically, and as somebody who really appreciates that area and what it has to offer, I think about how the whole vibe of driving down Mount Hope in that section will change if clearing out all of that brush in the right of way. So I'm going to be interested in a real clear and in writing, maybe like in a drawing, in an engineer's drawing of looking at like exactly what trees are being removed, because I'm hearing 23, but I'm finding 14 are marked. So I don't know where the rest of them are at. And then thinking, I heard in your meeting from 2 weeks ago that from Brent, that the entire fence, he had authorized consumers to remove the fence. And the only thing that needed to be replaced was the entrance gates. Well, if we look down that entire line, that fence provides a lot of barrier, whether that's sound barrier for whether it's wildlife or people enjoying Fenner. It provides a visual barrier. And I was reminded the other day walking by Whole Growth somewhere else, it provides habitat. I mean, I walked by all these bushes overgrown in another area that just was a chatter of birds the other night. So you know they're in there eating seeds and they're finding refuge in there. And so that, what exists there on that north side provides that now for wildlife in our area. So, and I think, the potential danger with Mount Hope and the traffic there. And when we open up that fence, I'm not saying deer don't jump those fences and no deer have ever gotten killed there, but I think that there's a lot of potential for that. But I also did just want to add that I believe that 2-inch trees, as have been recommended as replacements for the trees being removed, is industry appropriate. Some people might say, oh my goodness, we're taking down some big trees, we should put in some bigger trees. But history and research and science shows us that those 2-inch trees are going to be much more prepared to take off rapidly than a larger tree would be. So that size is really good. And then the other question is the money that we would potentially get from consumers for the easement, which I understand they've thrown us a number now, but I would hope as a city and representing the people here that we would work much harder to think about the long-term impact of giving this easement and what we should be fairly compensated for that. Where will that money go? Will it go into the general fund, or will it go into the fund for the cemetery and into the fund for Fenner? So, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Do we have anybody else here from the public that would like to speak? Anybody else from the public here that would like to speak?
Good place. I'm Saban Sully from Fenner Nature Center.
Okay.
And reiterating some of the statements that were said before, I think that the biggest thing for Fenner with this easement is just ensuring that the language that is in the easement is going to set parameters and guidelines on the exact work that's going to be done and the duration of access to that property past the installation of the work being done on this easement.
Thank you. I was gonna sneeze for a second. That bright light's hit me. Is there anybody online looking for to speak? Okay. Mr. Greg Banker, are you prepared yet to answer any of those?
Well, is the item up for,
That's the first item on the
Yes,
agenda.
it is.
I'm still reading, so not quite. But I've got answers to some of the questions, but I'd like to be able to answer all of them. I've heard several
Okay.
concerns stated.
All right, appreciate that. Well, once again, anybody else here from the public that would like to speak? All right, see no further public comment. We'll move down to the discussion action item B, Resolution Act 3, 2025, utility easement at 2020 and 2026 Small Hope Avenue for Consumers Energy. Anybody here from the city would like to table and join us?
And we need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I would move to table this item.
Okay, we have a proper motion on table this. All those in support, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, well,
Yeah, I'll just start off real quick before handing it over to Brett Kuschinski here. First off, for the question about a bat and bird study, I think that was mistakenly brought up by consumers last time. In further discussion with them and with Brett, they have studied the trees that are coming down. And when they do come down, they will be outside of the season that the Indiana bats use them, and they are an endangered species, so they are the main concern. They roost in those trees during the summer months when they breed. But then in October, I've learned a lot about bats today. In October, they seek out caves that are more consistently temperature for the winter months. So they will not be inside the trees when they come down. So a study was not deemed necessary, and it was not even being conducted at the time that it was mentioned. So it wasn't studied, and it wasn't deemed necessary to do.
Migratory birds.
so, yes, now that was another question that was brought up during the last committee about migratory birds. Is there any?
Again, no birds are migrating to Michigan during the winter. They're leaving Michigan. So they won't be using those trees as well. And then the trees will be cut down before they come here. So they'll seek alternatives.
Mr. Feedwell, can you mention or address the fact that it sounds like maybe 14 of them were marked and potentially 3 coming down?
I would,
So we met out there with, I think they estimated at the first 24 would come down. I have the markings. They are just to the east of the Fenner entrance exit. When we met out there with them, we had concerns about the large trees that were in that area. There is a very large oak just to the west of the property there. Some other larger ones as we get much closer to Evergreen. We had concerns about being able to always maintain access to Fenner, to always be able to maintain access to Evergreen Cemetery, because if we do not have access to Evergreen from Mount Hope, it becomes very, very difficult to come in from the south off Forest Road. So we walked the site. This is a directional boring project. This is underground. After marking the trees, we went back with the city forester, Dominic Fucilo, and myself, walked that line. The trees that they are removing, for this, we are very happy in consideration of the other trees that are there. It's not that we're happy that they're removing trees. What we are saying is, in terms of the scope of the project, they clearly went around the larger hardwoods that were in that area that we had concerns about. So you have some box elder in there, you have some pine, you have one honey locust, which I would consider to be the of most valuable, oldest tree in there. In terms of replanting in this area, we are not interested. Right along the road there, nature will take its course in this area. It will. And you will have that growth and regrowth along there. So we obviously, as you know, have a tree planting program that we do not only in our parks, but on our right of ways. We would definitely be replanting trees in other areas of our parks outside of this one. So again, anyone is able to take a look at the work that is going to be done, because you will see the easement property there. Really, you can see where it is marked now as far as where the line goes through. One of the questions that I had for consumers is, why can we not just do the directional bore in the area of the gas line that is there? The answer is they need to be at least 5 feet away from that active line going through there. That makes sense, right? So I believe in the future, let's say, how would they use this easement? I believe they are going back to where the inactive line is. This is something we can confirm, and we have asked that question, but not sure on how that would come in the future. But they do not have enough room in the current easement to be able to go in that same area where the current gas line is. And again, this is to provide gas to those residents and businesses in that area of the city, which is east of Mount Hope and south of, east of Mount Hope, really to 127 area there. So,
East of Aurelius.
I'm sorry, east of Aurelius. Yeah. It's actually running south of Mount Hope, but it services everything to there.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. If we do remove 23 trees, they will not get replanted there, but they will be replanted in other parks or other parks.
Well, we have a planting program in other parks. So, one of the things, when we saw the amount for the easement, I had questions about that as it compared to our last easement that we did underground, which was on the north end, Regent Park, I believe. It was at that time that we negotiated for the cost for removal of those trees. So that there was a negotiation process with this based on the original amount for the size and scope of this.
Do we have any questions from the committee regarding the trees at this point? Are you,
Go ahead. So in terms of, I've walked the entire property. Seen all the markings, seen the trees that have been pink dotted. And so talk to me a little bit about why the trees that were selected. Is it because that's where the opening of the exit piece is going to be?
That's where they're going to be able to go down there in both directions. So they're going to be heading west from that direction back to Aurelius.
Yep.
Okay, and then they're going to be heading east from that direction as well. So they're
Set up the.
there has to be some point.
I know there's got to be like a staging area.
Exactly, and really that is where that will take place. As you head east then, there's very low areas there, not suitable to that. As you head further east, it starts to elevate, there. And then further east from that, you're at Evergreen Cemetery in that area. So, I do believe that this will open up a little sight lines from when you're exiting Fenner and you're looking to the east. You will have a little bit more visibility there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
And I do appreciate that, you know, this is the trenchless, the directional boring, particularly because it's an environmentally sensitive area. But when I was walking, I couldn't help but, and of course, I'm not a utility expert, I couldn't help but to notice there's also a gas line across the street. And it seems like it would be a heck of a lot less disruptive across the street, right, if we were doing this. Is there a reason that wasn't considered?
Yeah, it wasn't what was asked for, A, and I don't know the reasons for that, B. I do know you have a lot lower land over there. I mean, to be able to get low enough in that area where you're talking about virtually all wet area, I don't know that it could be done. And again, when you talk about sensitive areas, now you're going into those wetlands. There's not as much in terms of a wet or lowland area here. This is all floodplain. It's all floodplain, okay? But, and again, I do not have a definite answer. I'm just telling you my opinion.
There are gas lines on the south side. And
I'm sorry, can I get your name for the record, because we are live?
Gary Galloway. The way it was explained to me from consumers, the reason why they don't want to put it over there, there are several, what they call them, branch lines that come off this line that they're proposing is a 12-inch main feeder. Okay, it's like the trunk of a tree. Well, it goes under the road, and everybody to the south, excuse me, is fed off that line through a branch. That branch runs back and forth, so basically you'd have to cross the road and then go get an easement for a number of places on that side. And I think it'd be a lot easier to do it on my side of the road because there's only 2 private properties. Me and a neighbor, so. And then you
And
got the
since we're asking about the trees, so it's $500 per tree. That's gonna be in the easement fee, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so what's the total easement fee? You recall?
I want to say 17. 17. Okay.
11,500 in trees. If they're
Yeah.
doing 23 trees. Yeah.
Where does that go?
That go to the tree planting.
General fund. You want it allocated some ways, place else, you have to allocate it.
Will that come back to us if we want to allocate it? I mean, I'd like to see it go back to, planting trees. Me personally, I don't know if that's possible. To
Just it automatically goes back into general fund.
And we can't allocate.
all right.
It would be, right, I mean, it would essentially be new money in, and so all the money that is currently in is budgeted to be spent. So it usually either fills some hole if a hole needs to be filled, but more importantly, it's what everything accumulates into basically leftover from this year when you go to budget for next fiscal year.
So, excuse me. Can we clarify that if it's done the way they're proposing to do it, all the fence from Fenner would be removed and all the brush would be removed, or is that inaccurate?
That would be inaccurate.
What would be accurate?
What would be accurate is that it's a directional bore under there. When we talked to them originally about this, I expressed that we have several holes in that fence. And what is the fence designed for? Obviously at the entrance gate, it is to keep cars and vehicles out of there. But this is a directional board, is not a clear cut along the fence line. It is not a clear cut to remove the fence. The fence has not been tagged either.
So on the directional boring, don't they have to do access holes about every 500 feet or so, vertical holes?
I would fail to comment, on directional boring. Maybe our public service director may have a little bit better expertise in that.
Depending on the size, the material, yes, they would have to have bore pits every X amount of time to tie in, because it's gonna be, it's not like it's gonna come to the surface and go back down. It's gonna be down whatever depth that's going to be. So they have to then bore from that, all that back in. But as far as access, that's something you'd have to get from consumers, whether they need to get it from the road, or they can come around the backside, and what impact that would be to the brush and trees and grass and everything outside of the road.
And also, they're asking for so many feet of an easement, but doesn't the documentation also imply that they may need beyond that to access the work area? So they may need 15 feet of an easement and another 5 feet to work into that easement?
Look at it, but if it were sewer, we would say, here's our construction easement, we need to be able to get in. And
The easement includes all access to service
You guys,
pipe.
let's keep this under control here. I mean,
Sorry.
I'll call on you if you to speak. We do have other. I was gonna get to the fence, and I do have a question regarding the fence. You said there's no spots that's tagged currently. So currently,
Fence removal.
okay, now if they do have to remove a section, you are not planning on putting it back up, or is there still a
I
possibility?
would not plan on putting that back up in there.
Okay, we don't have any representative here from consumers, do we? I don't see any.
Unfortunately not. They were told about the meeting, so I'm not quite sure what happened.
Do we have any other questions for committee?
Yeah, so for Greg, we hear a lot of, we've got this easement and I walk the easement too, and there's a lot of old growth in there and different things. If we agree to this here, and down the road, let's say 3 months later, they say, gee whiz, we're gonna have to take out these old trees. Is there anything that stops them from doing that within their easement?
No, once you give them the easement, they can do anything
Not the way
anytime.
it's currently.
The way it's written now,
You guys, please, question the city attorney.
As the document is currently written, no. I mean, the actual easement document. I understand that they've submitted plans, though.
Yeah.
They're operating through that process.
I get that. I just, we've seen it before.
Sure.
Gee whiz, this old oak that's been growing here, honey locust is gonna have to come down, or this fence, or everything.
Sure.
Or we're just gonna clear cut it. I had some concerns about the vagueness. Have you been able to deduce anything from that we could tighten the language up?
Well, I will say, yes. So I read the document, just to address some of the primary concerns. It's all right. I will say, one, they do have a clause on, they can lose the easement if they fail to use it for a period of 2 years or longer. And I will say that's fairly standard. And if they lose the easement by failure to exercise, they have to take everything out at their own expense. And they've got to replace it, or if they got to restore whatever they went into, whatever they had to do, they've got to restore in order to pull it back out. Or they can leave it at rest if they've flushed the pipe, and there's a whole bunch of environmental requirements to make sure that that's done capably and safely. Regarding the plans, I understand that the language, and this is, the first block is standard easement language. They're coming in on, over, above, under, like all the various prepositions you can think of. There's a Dr. Seuss book's worth of excitement in here. But the thing that sort of limits that then is Exhibit B, which shows the actual easement portrayed, and then it describes an underground pipeline. So it will be an underground pipeline, and that if they came in and said they just dropped a pipe on the ground and walked away, that would not be okay. So that answers, I think, one of the concerns and considerations. Also, I wanted to address there was reference to a temporary, well, they can use more land as they need in order to get the work done. There's a temporary construction easement that is granted during the period of them installing the thing, where yes, they can be in more area, but that is limited in time to only while they are putting the thing in. And I say the thing because this is standard for sewer easements, gas easements, electric easements, and that's, I mean, consumers does electricity as well. So that's why they have that above over, et cetera, language. I have negotiated with consumers in other easement situations where we removed the words above, over, and things like that. So that can be done. And in terms of what needs to be, like, if you want to try to preserve certain things, that's fine. From consumers' perspective, that's a negotiation. So then we are talking about dollars and cents at that point of saying, okay, if you want to do this, if you want to save this tree, if you want to save that thing, however you want to do that, they will come back to the table and have a conversation. And I have not been at the table to have those conversations, but I don't know. I would leave that to Brett in terms of what he thinks actually they will be doing or won't be doing.
So we did talk to them about potential staging areas. And there is what we call group camp parking lot. About halfway down there, that would be used for any staging of equipment so that there isn't, the need to be parking all through there, for instance.
Is that right when you enter Fenner on the west side?
It would be, pretty much halfway between the entrance to Mount Hope, between Evergreen Cemetery and the entrance to Fenner. On the same side of the road.
One for the kids' camps.
It's where you pull in for the camps.
All right, Loretta,
I'm imagining that if there was any need for DEQ or agencies like that to be involved, that they have been involved.
Yes, I mean, we don't handle that for consumers, but yes, there would be an immense amount of trouble if they were not talking to DEQ about this. I mean, yes.
we have any other?
Whole section of this that does talk about that. If they mess something up, they owe us a bunch of money.
Councilman Goss.
The memorandum that we have from you, Andy, Andy Fedewater specifically. Who's they? You said they did a review.
Parks and Recreation with consumers. And they did the on-site visit.
And I saw the trees that were marked and none of them are significant. I still think my concern is the old growth in those trees. And so Greg, I don't know that you got the answer I was looking for there, which is there anything we can do to stop them from beyond the scope of what is marked as what they're going to tear down? Decide, well, this fence has got to come out, or, because you know how it goes, right? Oh, well, we'll talk about this other tree, but then the tree's getting sawed halfway down before a conversation happens, or anyone catches it and says, hey, this tree is missing.
I understand the concern, certainly. It has been my experience, at least working on city property, when consumers is doing something that they are very upfront about everything and they submit their plans and they try to cooperate as much as possible. It is entirely possible. It is not in this document or any of the documents so far, but it is possible to have a document that contains those restraints and say, abide by these restraints. The trees, for example, I mean, the thing that you would do is add an exhibit that says, this is the depiction of the easement area and the use of the easement area, and then exhibit C, that is, this is the depiction of the plans to install the pipeline and whatever documents they've already prepared, basically, and provided through other channels and bind them to those, because currently they're not bound to that. But right, that's not here. I don't know that I've been involved in one of these where we have had to do that or where we didn't do that and were disappointed. That's only since I've been here and been involved with these with consumers on city property. I can't speak to any other properties, but I hear you. Yeah.
Mr. Kaczynski.
This is not the first, nor will it be the last time that you have underground easement coming from consumers. There are more come here specifically. So that would, any of those activities would cause concern in the future. As Greg stated, we have not had those concerns with them in the past.
So Got a couple of questions here and then we're gonna have to move on shortly. Loretta?
Is there any reason that we could not work with consumers to put in a specific stipulation that says that no further alterations can be made to the landscape above or below ground without going through this approval process first? It doesn't say they can never do it. It just says that if they're gonna do it, they have to come back this way and do it again, this process. Because we all know that, you know, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, half of us aren't gonna be here, half of them aren't gonna be here. Who knows what the people that take our places or their places would say, do, or agree to?
Talking down the road, not during the construction.
Right. Yeah, 20 years from now, what's to stop them from saying, we have a whole new process now. These are obsolete. We want to come through and do who knows what the new process is. And you've given them the easement and you have no way to stop them.
City attorney, is that something that we could do?
Sure, sure. I don't know if consumers will agree to it, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's preventing that from occurring. We're putting a document, putting language like that into here. I will note that, I mean, as it's currently written, and this is standard for pipelines, there are some restrictions on the trees that we can plant there because we don't want, and they don't want, no one wants roots to go down and mess up the pipeline. We have restrictions on sewer lines for the same reasons. So yeah, absolutely. There's no limitation on that.
So is that something that we would pass off to your department to handle?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps we should table it, yes.
How long would, potentially would a turnaround would that be?
Not long.
Okay.
Okay.
Consumers a lot right now.
Good. And I would also impress upon them the importance of it being at the next meeting. And this is, yes. Yeah, I agree. Okay. I would move to table.
We have a proper motion in place. All those in favor of tabling this until the next committee meeting?
I'm sorry, I can interrupt really fast. Before you table, can I just get a clear direction from the committee, either by vote or by something, of the things that I am going back to asking about?
So, but
I think it's the stipulation in the easement agreement that they have to come back for
Approval from the
approval.
body.
Yeah, for if they're gonna make those types of alterations. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yes, enough that I can have the conversation with them. Because, right, they have to be able to maintain, I mean. it
No,
sounds like
that's
they don't
what
want
an easement is.
to
Yeah.
You want to prevent them from just coming back, clear cutting, ripping it out, and replacing it with something else without talking.
I mean,
to us.
purpose of the
yeah.
easement is so that they can
Yeah.
maintain. What we don't want to see is drastic
I
alterations
think
and
there's,
additional things. Yeah,
there's several
yeah.
things that can be drastic
Yeah,
there. And
absolutely.
this isn't just some empty bare spot. This is, Fenner Nature Center, a cemetery. There's a lot into play here.
And this might not be standard, but because it is, again, environmentally sensitive, and I mean, it deserves to be protected in this way. So there might be some provisions of the agreement that are a little bit unique. But again, I think to tailor it that way is appropriate.
And it wouldn't be much different from, I think, other communities around us that are worried about protecting their wetlands and
either.
green space.
Yeah.
Loretta, did you have an additional comment?
Just one last thing.
There's a
They're gonna be,
Oh, we have a motion.
Yep, there's a motion on the table.
Do you need any other additional information for the motion? Okay, so we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Loretta?
just quickly, if this is gonna be the precursor of multiple future agreements, maybe it's a good idea to get this stipulation in place so that as we go through these future easements, other places, it's a standard procedure. This is part of the contract.
Yep. Okay, all right. So
Councilman Garza.
move down to resolution C, Act 4, drain easement, 2400 to 2500 block of North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard at the Capital Region Airport Authority.
Introducing, but we also have Amy Patrick, Director of Public Service, and we also have Rob Benstein from the Capital Region Airport, that can speak a little more specifically to what's being requested. The Airport Authority is proposing to create a 20-foot drain easement along the eastern portion of the 3400 and 3500 block of North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. They will be for the purpose of installing a underground sewer drain that will connect to the airport. I believe there was a part of your exhibit, or as part of the staff report to Planning Commission, there is a map showing where it's going to be running on their property, but then it goes into Sheridan, Road, which is the northern boundary of the city. There's another image in that staff report. There is a 740-foot gap between Sheridan Road and a manhole down MLK. And this easement is a way to put in a new force drain that connects those 2 points. Again, all technical questions should go to Andy. But let's see. Yes, because it is a force drain rather than the conventional sanitary sewer, we were not going to take ownership of it. It would be part of the Capital Region Airport Authority's responsibility. They are utilizing a Economic Development Administration site certification process to complete this drain project. And again, I would ask Rob to speak on that more if there are questions for that. They stated they're expecting the project to begin next March 2026. Construction may require temporary removal of sidewalks along North MLK. But as part of the easement agreement, the Regional Airport Authority would be responsible for all site restoration, including street trees if removed. I do have to apologize for one part of my staff report that said that the agency referral with the Board of Water and Light was pending. At the time, there was just a miscommunication between 2 different bodies at that the board. But after the fact, after that planning meeting, we did hammer out those details, which Greg could speak to a little bit more if there are questions to
Yeah,
that.
we received the email that it was approved.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify and I apologize for that mistake.
I appreciate that. So this is all commercial property, correct? There's no residential property.
Correct.
It's all on the east side of North Martin King.
Yes. It's through the,
Do we have any questions from committee or comments from the committee?
I'm not even sure. I don't think there's even a lot of trees in that area, to be honest. That area is pretty cleared out, so I have no issues with this.
And Mr. Patrick, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Oh, I mean, really, so I guess from a simplistic standpoint, this is not much different than your private sewer you're connecting to the public main, other than this is a force main, so it's under pressure and it's longitudinal in the roadway versus coming from. I think that's the difference. If we had sewer that extended all the way out to the city limits, they could tie right into it. But because of the depth, if we extended the sewer, it would be out of the ground. So basically they're pumping to where they can connect in. And because it serves, essentially it's a private use, we don't want that as a public sewer to maintain. That's the reason for this. So
Now, is that the only reason why it's a forced sewer? Because of the.
because of the elevation. Yep. Otherwise, I guess if we wanted to, we could lower all the other sewers all the way downstream. So it could be in the ground, or we could have a sewer up in the air. They would pump.
Show me the money.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a little unique. And I think from speaking, well, I'm not going to speak for the airport authority, but I believe on our side, from the department, we don't care whether it's a license, an easement, anything else in the world. We would want to make sure that we record that in our plans, because unless the airport authority is part of MISDIG, when some contractor wants to go and, dig in there, we want to know where their force main is so we can identify that.
Great. Is there any questions or comments from the committee?
I didn't know if Rob had anything to add. Chief Operating Officer. Did you have anything just wanted to recognize the fact that you're here and certainly appreciate it.
Rob Benson, Chief Operating Officer for the Airport Authority. I'll be glad to answer any questions. This is an important project for us. We're working with Mr. Fidelis with the Economic Development Administration to bring in some infrastructure to support our industrial park. So we're working with BWL. They're actually a sub-recipient on the grant. So they're going to do water, electric, some stormwater improvements, and the sanitary.
Okay, and this is sewer, correct though?
Correct. Yeah, just the sanitary is the only part that's going to be in the easement. The rest of the work stays on airport property. But it's all part of one project.
But it does flow into our city sewer.
It's into our sewer.
Okay, so now I guess I do have a question with that then regarding the airport, the PFAS and stuff for the fire extinguisher equipment that you use at the airport if there is a fire. Do you see any issues with that contaminating our sewer system or making it more difficult to?
It could be better, but normally that would have gone into, well, either it's going to go just on the ground or a storm sewer, not sanitary. So.
Okay, all right.
The sanitary will serve our de-icing containment facility, similar to what it's doing now. We've got a containment facility that collects the stormwater during the winter. There is some de-icing fluid, and that is sent to the water treatment plant. And the existing connection, I believe, goes through an 8-inch sanitary connection that's by the intersection of the railroad and Capital City Boulevard. And my understanding is that 8-inch isn't large enough to handle the flow. When we expanded our cargo ramp a couple of years ago, that's what's necessitating the new sanitary going to the 15-inch.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Do we have any additional comments or questions? I'm looking for a motion then.
I would move the resolution pertaining to Act 4, 2025 for a drain easement, Capital Regional Airport Authority.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thank you all. Moving down to Resolution D, Act 2, 2025, sale of city property, lot 57, 1400 block of Turner Street. Obviously, we went through committee, we went back to council, back to committee. Is there any additional comments the city would like to provide on this sale? No? Okay.
Sorry.
Don't see any additional commentary. Do you guys have any additional questions regarding the sale?
I do not. I do not.
No.
Presentations have been great. Yep. Have really appreciated the transparency and everybody's been involved. Obviously, we've had, I think, adequate opportunity to solicit input from the public. And no, I'm good to go.
Okay, look for a motion then.
Move the resolution, Act 2, 2025 for sale of city property, lot 57, 1400 block of Turner Street.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, Resolution E, Brownfield Plan Number 88, Turner North Development, 1400 block Turner Street. We obviously had the presentation, public hearing. Any additional comments from anybody?
Just, I'm excited for this plan. It's been a block and the first ward that has just been an eyesore for almost all my life because I grew up. So I'm glad to see that someone has found some use for this land and it will extend the charm and beauty of Old Town and add to it, not take away from it. So I'm excited. I appreciate all the time that this group has given to council members, also the community, reaching out to the community in advance, talking to the neighbors, reaching out not only to the commercial association, the businesses, but also the actual neighbors at the condos too, and getting everybody on board. I thought that was a great way to approach this.
Yeah, 80 or some odd participants in that public meeting. That's pretty impressive. So nice work from all.
And I would echo everything that Ryan said. I think for me, being a South Sider, it's exciting because it's the destination neighborhood, right? For people that live really across South Lansing. But what's really, across the city, but what was really cool to see, I think, was the excitement that was demonstrated from the people that actually live there, that actually own commercial property there, that actually do business there on a regular basis. So, job well done. We're excited about this.
Okay, well, I'm looking for a motion then.
So moved.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, moving down to ordinance F, amending chapter 887 to add section 887.10, payment in lieu of taxes, pilot for Evergreen Townhomes, 900 Long Boulevard for workforce housing. Okay, we had the public hearing, we had the presentation. Any additional comments from the owners or from the city? Anybody would like to provide? Seeing none. Okay, do we have any additional comments or questions from council or from the committee?
I would just like to quickly put a plug in that I appreciate the fact that they've put $8 million of their own money into this place. I think the three of us are well aware and have driven many a times through that disaster that was Autumn Ridge. And to see where it's at today already, I can't think of a pilot that has come to us that's more deserving of that tax break. When it comes to the money they put in, what it looks like now, in the scope. I mean, this is a huge, the biggest single family residential site we have in the city. And they're really turning it around. And even willing to listen to other opportunities that are near this for possibly in the future, which is great for that whole area. I'm excited about what's going to happen there and what the future holds with this.
Yeah, I echo those comments and I appreciate the fact that they did put a 800 or 8 million plus capital in there. And, the residents there are overjoyed and ecstatic of what's been happening because seeing how Oak Park was such a thriving community and then it goes to Autumn Ridge and it's just been and over the last, couple decades. So, very, very excited about this. So any additional comments from committee?
No, just that I agree. I think what that did for this council, this body, is it gave us, because we didn't have obviously any experience with this group prior to them, taking possession of this property. And we don't like to reward bad actors. And so what they were able to do is kind of demonstrate that they are good actors. The tenants are incredibly happy. And frankly, the folks within the city that I've talked to, folks that are out there inspecting, folks that are out there enforcing are really, really happy with this group. And believe that this is a turnaround project. So I'm fully supportive as well.
Okay, look for a motion then.
So moved.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, doing, last, our discussion item, committee budget priorities for fiscal year 2026, 2027. We had a little discussion last, meeting.
And this is here. Chris
Oh,
Klein is
sorry.
here.
Mr. Klein.
I think you guys asked for him to come to this one. Yep.
So did you, see any of the comments from last committee and why they asked you to, attend?
A little bit, yeah, about just some, obviously the priorities, but looking at how we approach the small business assistance. And I think there was also some discussion regarding the facade program and, how that could be directed.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Mr. Klein. Do you want to go ahead and address those now? Are you able to?
But are there specific, I guess, questions from the committee or?
So we have as number one priority, $80,000 full-time employee for the LEDC to focus on small business, minority businesses, female-owned businesses. Are we there? Do we have that? Do you have that staff person? Is this something we can remove from our requests and find other things to put on there?
So we do have several folks that focus on small businesses. A lot of the programs that we have currently for small businesses are targeted towards underserved communities, or at least, it's very important for us to have those be as inclusive as possible, getting or doing outreach and things like that. Doing that as broadly as possible is going to create, broader, more diverse participation in those programs. And so that's really like first and foremost, is being inclusive in that approach. But yes, we have several folks.
Can I restate that?
Yeah, sorry.
So the question really is, we want to do, and I think this was expressed at the last committee, we want to make sure that we are doing economic development right in terms of marketing, in terms of outreach, in terms of shopping the fantastic programs that we have in place to make sure that we get dollars in the ground, investment here in the city of Lansing. And so we want to make sure that you have what you need, right? You're the expert, obviously. And so I think the question is, we know that a lot of this has been absorbed into certain positions and maybe, kind of across several positions. Maybe you feel like you have the capacity to do some of this. Do you need in one person, right, actually dedicated to that job? Or do you feel like you're not stretching people's capacity so thin that they can't do the other things they're tasked with doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Understood. And I think what's really challenging too with a smaller organization, folks do parts of things. So it's kind of not necessarily one
Right.
T that's just focused on just that. I think, if that's a priority of the city to have, focuses that could address that via the contract and figure out how to work, obviously, those focuses in. And then it would just be the equivalent of that and, increasing the contract appropriately. But yeah, I think right now, one of the challenges that we're coming up against is, as you stated, a lot of this was under the ARPA dollars, right? So the LEAD initiative, and that's drawing down, coming to an end of next year. So we have a few more cohorts of our Empower program, which is it's the technical assistance for businesses, as well as another cohort of our Seed Academy, which is the emerging developer programming that we have. We are searching for additional funds to keep this going. So like that's something we want to obviously at least a cohort per year. Those have been really impactful.
Yeah, and so what is the contract between the city of Lansing and LEDC right now? What's that number?
So the economic development services is 300,000, and then we have
It's been 300,000 for how long?
since I've been there. I mean, it's I'd say 10, 15 years.
Certainly not keeping up with
Inflation.
inflation.
We did have with the facade program have some admin dollars to help with the administration of that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is this $80,000 for a full-time employee is getting spread out between multiple employees?
Correct. Yeah.
And I guess another question to that would be if we left that in there and that money were to be provided to you, would it be likely that this person would actually end up getting hired, or you would use that money just elsewhere?
So great question. I think that would offset some of our current dollars that we're leveraging, and then probably it might be a part of a new position. But I wouldn't necessarily hire somebody specifically with those dollars.
So it sounds like we could probably push this money in a different way, maybe under one of the other incentives here that might be more beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at having, the gradual increase the contract again, just
To me, that's almost, and I understand if people want to try to have a little bit more intentionality behind what those dollars are going to be used for. But to me, we need to look at the contract, and we need to consider inflation, cost of doing business obviously has went up. And what is an appropriate increase, or at least an ask, right, to the administration for the recommended budget. Have you thought about that, Chris?
So I think there's definitely, I've done some math.
Oh, you have. Yeah.
So essentially the $300,000 is about 2 FTEs. And we're talking about, all the overhead costs and that, what is actually the time put into those is more like 5.5 FTEs. But of course, our team's slightly larger than that, but we have the Brownfield Authority, Tax and Finance Authority, a variety of other programs, but everything that's Lansing EDC related and under the contract of the city. That's kind of where we stand that was last fiscal year when I did that math. So it certainly won't be to that extent of doubling it, and understanding there's many needs and priorities throughout the city, and that we're just a small part of the overall budget. But I do appreciate the conversation and having.
So are we looking at maybe striking this or changing it to maybe speak with the administration to see exactly how much money we could be adding to this $300,000 contract?
I mean, personally, what I would like to see, is language where we think of a dollar amount. Now, remember what that does is it creates a conversation within the administration when they're actually putting their recommended budget together. And as we've seen from their transmittal letters, how they kind of take our recommendations, they talk about those things, how it might spur them into some action. But to be honest with you, we asked for 600,000, right? To, as an example, reflect inflationary costs and it just increases the cost of doing business. I think we could put the 600,000 in there, and I think that maybe hopefully force them to have a conversation about what an appropriate number is, and then they can come back with their transmittal letter in terms of recommended budget, talk to us about how they landed where they landed. So I'd say I just put increase for me. This, I guess, is a proposal. Increase the contract with the LEDC by $300,000.
Right.
Maybe I missed it. Did you say what year that 300,000's been stuck at like that?
I think 10 or 15 years probably. I think it's like 2012 or 11. It used to be like 500. I think it actually went down.
Well, then I guess you're not doing enough work. I'm kidding. In case anybody's taking me seriously. I like your language. I would also, if I could, maybe add to that, with considerations for yearly increases of inflation, or with consideration of the yearly increase in inflation as well.
Sounds good. Getting all that, Sherry?
Yep.
Cool, okay, awesome. And then, obviously, the $150,000 at the end was, added for neighborhood revitalization.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know Ingham County
So-
has something similar.
Quickly though, am I gonna take the 80 out and replace it with this?
Can I ask one more
Yeah,
question?
please.
Thank you, Chair. Number two, 250,000, because you guys do the facade grant program. Is that enough money? I mean, are we getting more people than we can pay to get their storefronts? Because that's, kind of a thing that I bother Raleigh all the time about.
Yeah, so that program's been pretty steady where we have, I'd have to get the exact numbers, probably get twice the requests as we have for funding, but some of those too, we have to look for like quality and impactful projects, but we definitely utilize that. We are looking with the increase, maintaining the standard facade program, but then also targeting properties along the established CIAs, just to, those that have been established as a priority, trying to find some, we've been working with the boards to identify just a couple properties, trying to market those, and trying to really target specific properties along the corridors. So we're able to be creative. We're kind of doing a pilot of that this year with the increase. So that, hopefully that'll bear fruit. Yeah, it's been,
You are saying that you do have to turn some applicants away that otherwise would qualify.
yeah. So for example, we actually, we recently we applied for additional dollars from the state of Michigan. And it was through the regional EDO, but that was additional 500,000 to support facade programs. And those were ones that rolled over from previous years and ones that were left that we weren't able to award. So there was like a pent up need, for sure.
So we've got 250, the way I read it, 250,000. We're increasing to that number on the
Yes.
proposal.
Yeah, because we're at 225 right now.
Yeah. Why not, again, shoot for the moon and just put in 500,000 and see where it falls? Because we know that it's not adequately, there's more that can be done. I think we have opportunities with corridor improvements
Right.
on MLK, Michigan Avenue being brand new now. We can really kick this into high gear with our small businesses and get some of these facades looking good. They've struggled for years through this construction, and this is, I think an easy way to help people out, especially if we can fund this at a level where we can have more people, getting this grant.
And I'm good with that. I guess my question would be, I don't know if it's to our administration and to you, Chris, but I know that there was talks about making it easier for the smaller business to get some of that money up front and not have to wait until after they finish the project.
So we're working through that. It'll likely be case by case. The challenge is there's certain design standards that are approved for the program. It is reimbursement based. And so to be, good stewards of public dollars, making sure that it's been completed per how it was, applied for and approved. I would say that, and not to negotiate against myself, but working with the corridor improvement authorities, they're also capturing dollars. I think a great example is South MLK. And there's a specific awardee within that facade awardee that needed some dollars up front. And so they're leveraging their dollars via business grants to put into that improvement and allow them to get some of the facade dollars faster. So I think we can be creative in that way as well by leveraging those dollars and having a few different sources. But I'm a bit hesitant to have dollars up front. But if they're completing it, in stages, depending on what the type of project that it is, I think we can be flexible.
So
So number 2 is now going to be 500,000.
you guys both good with that? I'm
Yeah.
good with that. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. All right, any additional comments or amendments to this?
So 3, 4, and 5 are gonna stay the same.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay. 80,000, 80,000, 150,000.
You guys all good with that?
Did you have anything else, Chris, to add?
Did you still have like the compliance? Was that still
Yes.
on there? Okay. I mean, our team does compliance on like the Universal Development Agreement as well under the contract. So just curious on that too, what the expectations there are. it's not necessarily anything we need to answer today.
Yeah, I'm not the one that added this. Someone, do we need to take this?
This has been on here for quite some
Yeah.
time.
Well, and it sounds like they're doing it,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
maybe we should
Strike.
strike it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is everybody in compliance?
Yeah, so the Tifa and brownfields, that we oversee that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll keep 1, 2 will increase to 5.
Yeah.
Um,
And we just
Well,
bounced
one
with
will
that.
increase. Perfect, got it. There you go. Okay. No.
Not before me.
Okay, seeing, any other further business? Any no further business, we are adjourned at 4:30.
Ask for a car.